Hello, welcome back to my channel Lomzy Sews. In today's sewing tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how to make this stylish shirt with notched collar. I don't know if to call this a shirt or a jacket or a cape top. So guys, this video was requested and I decided to make mine a reversible shirt or bolero or is it jacket? I don't even know what to call it, but this is very nice. So I decided to make it a reversible shirt. As you can see, which one do you guys prefer? If you have not watched the video on how to make this jumpsuit, I'll drop it in the link below, and also the playsuit. Note that this shirt has a notch collar, as you can see. So let's start. To make this, I'll be using these two fabrics. I have less than 1 yard here. I want to make it a reversible shirt, so I'm going to be using these two fabrics. I have this one measures 20 inches by 45, and I have a lot of this. So after cutting this, I'll use it and cut out on this to make the reversible shirt. So I've not made this shirt before. This is my first time making it, but you can use like 1 yard or 1.5 yards. So first I'm going to cut out the back. I want the back to be 15 inches. So I'll just make it 16 and a half, 1 inch for the hem and ½ inch for the joining allowance. So I'm going to cut 16 inches here. I hope by the time I finish cutting 16 and a half, I will have enough for my front. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and cut out 16 and a half inches here. So this will be for the back. The front is a shirt, so it has a button stand. So I'm going to place this like this. Let me place it this way. So remember, this is the center back and this is the center front. Next thing we will do is to get the neck width. The neck width I want to use is 3.5 inches. That is because I've added sewing allowance to that. If not, I would have used 4 inches. So I'll use 3.5. By the time I sew it, it will come to 4 inches. If you're drafting straight on your pattern paper, use 4 inches. So I'm going to use 3.5 here. And then for the neck depth for the front, I'm going to use 1.25. If you're cutting on pattern paper, you can use 1.75. So I'll connect this line like this. Next is the front. I'm going to come down 4 inches. I'll go ahead and also connect it just for you to show you. Next is for me to get the shoulder width. My shoulder width is 8.5 inches, but I'll add 1 inch to that. After cutting this shoulder, I realized that I didn't add the shoulder slope, but I did add it when I was sewing it. So make sure you slope your shoulder with 1.5 inches. So I divided my shoulder into 2. It gave me 9 inches. I added ½ inch to that. So if your shoulder is 8 inches, add 1 inch to that and also add ½ inch sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and cut out all these things that I have drawn. Next is to draw the shape of the shirt. Before I do that, first I'm going to mark the button stand and the button hole. So I'm just marking out to show you the center front. I'll go ahead and finish cutting the neckline. So this line is the center front. I'm going to notch that place for the notched collar. Can you see? Yes. So next thing I'm going to get is to get the line where I want the shape of the shirt to be. So I came down 16 inches here. This line is where the button stand will stop. So from the center line, I'm going to mark 5 inches. And the length of the shirt or the bolero, I don't even know. The front is, I'm using 25 inches. I'll go ahead and add 1 inch hemming allowance to that. So before I do that, I'm going to make sure I drop this line down to the hem line. So this is the line I'm going to use as a guide. On the two sides of the line, I'm going to go out ½ inch just to get the V line. So I'm going to connect it here and connect that. you go ahead and just use your discretion and make the design for the v-neck, for the v line, the v design in front. So I marked mine like this. I left 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and cut all this out. Next is to draw the line where I'll be adding the welt pocket. I have a full tutorial, a detailed tutorial on how to make a welt pocket. I'll drop that in the description section. Just make sure you watch that video if you want to add a welt pocket to your shirt. So after marking this line, I'll go ahead and cut out the front and the back on the second fabric. So this is the second fabric. I'm going to cut that out. If you don't want to make yours a reversible shirt, then you go ahead and use lining to cut this out. To sew this, I will start with the back. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my machine. If you want this to be sturdy, make sure you interface one of these, either anyone. If you're using, just interface one of it to make it sturdy. I don't have an interfacing now, so I didn't interface mine. So I'm going to place this like this, and I will sew this rectangle like that. This is it after sewing it. Can you see? Very neat. So it's good to be reversible. You can wear any side. So next we'll have to go over to the front. So this is the front. I've gone ahead and made the welt pocket. Can you see? I have a detailed tutorial on how to make a welt pocket. Make sure you watch that if you want to add a welt pocket to your shirt. I'm going to go ahead to sew this. So I'm going to place this like this. Right side facing together. I will place the right side of the right side facing together actually. Because of this Ankara, I don't even okay, so this is the wrong side. So right side facing together. You go to your machine, you have to pay attention here. So you go to your machine and you sew the side down to this place. Also sew 1/2 inch down to this place. Turn your needle and sew it here. And also where we have notched for the collar. Let me not, I've not notched the second one. So here that you have notched this, you're going to stop here. So you're going to sew it till this place and 1/2 inch all the way round. So this is it after sewing it. I've gone ahead and ironed it properly. Can you see? So after placing the two of them like this, the notch collar, you see the shape of the notch collar. So the next thing we will do now is to join the shoulder. So I'll bring the back and I'm going to place the both back and front shoulder like this, and I'm going to pick the right sides and go ahead and sew them together like that. So just sew it straight here. After sewing it, this is how it's looking, very neat, and the shirt is coming up nicely. So the next thing we'll do now is to cut the collar. For us to cut the collar, I'm going to take, after placing the two of them together like that, I'm going to measure the neckline. So you start from that place, the notch place, and you measure round to the back. What I have here is 10 inches, and I'm going to cut the collar to be 10.5. So this is my fabric. I'm going to use this fabric to cut the two collars. I don't want to use the other fabric. So I'm just going to use this fabric to make for the two collar, the main fabric and the lining piece. So the width of the collar, I want it to be 4 inches, but I'm going to cut out 5 inches because of the sewing allowance. So go ahead and make the width to be 5 inches. I'll go ahead and trim off excess, and I'm going to have the width of the collar to be 5 inches, and then the neck width, I'm going to make it 10.5. Remember I told you have to add half inch sewing allowance. So this is what I'm going to cut out. Next, for me to make the shirt collar, this is the folded edge. I'm going to get the neck width, which is 10 inches. So I'll divide that into 3 for us to make the shape of the shirt. I'll come up here by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect it to this place like that. This is a very simple shirt collar, so I'm cutting both the stand and the collar together. So I'll go ahead and cut it like this. After cutting it, I'll notch this place to know the center of the shirt collar. So this is it after cutting it, how it looks. I'll go ahead now and I'm going to sew from here half inch all around. I'll leave the space for it to be easy for me to attach this to the neckline. So this is it. I've started sewing it. Can you see I have left this space? So guys, I'm going to go ahead now and open this like this and place it here and sew it. Let's go to the machine and sew this. I'm using a stitch in the ditch method to sew this. So first I'm sewing one layer, right side facing together. I'm going to sew it to the end, and I'm going to pin it. So you go ahead and pin this down, just to make sure when you're pinning it down, make sure you overlap where you have sewn before, so that will make it easier for us to sew the stitch in a ditch. Oh my word. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. I'm just necessarily making sure I overlap the place where I have sewn it before, so that it will be easier for me to sew it. You can sew it from front or back, as long as you have pinned it and made sure what you have pinned overlapped where you have sewn before by at least 1/4 of an inch or less than that. After pinning it, it will be easier for me to stitch it. So I'm going to stitch it here using a stitch in a ditch method. Let me show you how neat this is looking. Can you see how neat it is? I hope you can see it. Yeah, if you pinned it correctly, it will be this neat. If you have watched this video till this time and you have not given this video a thumbs up, what are you waiting for? Please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment in the comment section. Even if you don't have anything to drop, you can just drop the flag of your country in the comment section. And if you want to join this community, subscribe to do so. So this is it, guys. After sewing it, I've gone ahead and ironed it properly. So make sure you iron the shirt properly. Can see you add your button to this place. I'm just adding only 2 buttons to it. So guys, we have come to the end of today's sewing tutorial. As you can see how nice, neat and nice this shirt is already looking. I'm loving it. Anyway guys, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.